My name is Dr. Syed Hamid Mahiuddin Khadri, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Management Studies, Lord Institute of Engineering and Technology, Hyderabad, India. Today, I am the moderator as a parallel session chair for day 2, August 13, 2022, in the track 1, Humanities and Social Sciences. The theme, Models of Learning Moving from Principles to Practices. The topic is practical models for both quality and accreditation. Today, I'll give a brief overview of this session today. We are having 4 presenters today. The first presenter is Dr. Joseph Levy. His title is Advice for Assessment Planning. The second presenter is Mr. Zoeb Hassan Sain. His title is Challenges in Quality of Education in Higher Education Institutions of Pakistan. The third presenter is Professor Hasnan Ahmad. His title is Quality Model for Madrasa Education and Accreditation. The fourth presenter is J. Mark Santos. His title is Sustaining Excellence and Quality Through Accreditation During the Pandemic and Beyond, the LCUP Way. So I'll introduce the first author, so the first presenter today, Dr. Joseph D. Levy. He serves as Executive Director of Assessment and Accreditation at National Louis University in Chicago, Illinois. He earned a BA in English from Baldwin Wallace College, and he has done his MS in Student Affairs in Higher Education from Colorado State University. And he is Doctorate in Education in Higher Education Leadership from National Louis University. Dr. Joe is a member of Student Affairs Assessment Leader Board of Directors, co-creator, and instructor for the Applying and Leading Assessment in Student Affairs Open Course, and endorsed speaker for National Institute of Learning Outcomes Assessment, author, presenter, trainer, and consultant. Dr. Joe enjoys leveraging his academic and student affairs experience from multiple institutional types to talk assessment, quality assurance, and institutional betterment. As Dr. Joseph Levy is unable to join us today, but his presentation titled Parallel Session Theme 1 Topic topic Advice for Assessment Planning shall be appended to this video at the end of this parallel session. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Zohaib Hassan Sain for the session. I'll introduce Dr. Zohaib Hassan Sain. He is a student of MS Quality Management from Superior University. He has presented research paper in different international conferences. Current activities are attending trainings, workshops, and conferences to enhance knowledge and polish skills, which will be helpful in future career. I invite Dr. Zohaib Hassan Sain.
Really, thank you, sir, for introducing me. My topic is challenges in quality of education in higher education institutions of Pakistan. Introduction. What does quality mean in the context of education? Many definitions of quality in education exist, testifying to the complexity and multifaceted nature of the concept. Considerable consensus exists around the basic dimensions of quality education today. Quality education includes learners who are healthy, well-nourished, and ready to participate and learn, and supported in learning by their families and communities. Environment that is healthy, safe, protective, and gender sensitive, and provide adequate resources and facilities. It is well said that education is the road to national development. Education is a vital process of the development of any society. It is considered one of the main pillars of a society according to Adams in 1988. Education creates awareness among the people about life and challenges in the world. Quality of education is a description of how well the learning opportunities are available to students, help them to achieve their awards. It is about making sure that appropriate and effective teaching, assessment, and learning opportunities are made available to students. In Pakistan, the education system is categorized into 5 levels. These are primary level from class 1 to 5, middle level class 6 to 8, secondary level class 9 to 10, intermediate level class 11 to 12, and university level from class 13 to onwards. After focusing on levels of education system, if you talk about schools, colleges, and universities, they are also categorized into 3 types. These are government institutions, private institutions, and madrasas. Quality of education in higher education institutions of Pakistan is really having a bad configuration at the moment. There is no doubt in accepting the fact that education stands the backbone for the development of nations. Pakistan is still struggling with the lowest literacy rate, 60% in the world, even after 75 years of its existence. This study attempts to analyze the various challenges in quality of education in higher education institutions of Pakistan. The role of total quality management in educational sectors is the basic research problem. In Pakistan, the quality of education has a declining trend. Previous researches provided only short-term solutions of the problems and information related to public sector higher education institutions. In this research, most important challenges are discussed along with their recommendations. This research will be helpful to students, researchers, managers, policymakers, trainers, target population, and general public. Statement of the problem. This research is aimed at identifying the factors affecting the quality of education in higher education institutions of Pakistan. And the research questions are, what are challenges in quality of education in higher education institutions of Pakistan? What solutions can be proposed in order to improve the quality of education in higher education institutions of Pakistan? The objective of this study is to identify the challenges in quality of education in higher education institutions of Pakistan. And the sub-objectives are to identify the relationship between curriculum and quality of education, relationship between less training institutions and quality of education, relationship between corruption in education and quality of education, relationship between teachers' behavior and quality of education, and relationship between less research work and quality of education. As you can see the theoretical framework in front of you. These are the research hypotheses evolved from the theoretical structure. The following hypotheses are formed. There is a favorable relationship between curriculum and quality of education. H2, there is a favorable relationship between less training institutions and quality of education. H3, favorable relationship between corruption in education and quality of education. Fourth one is favorable relationship between teachers' behavior and quality of education. And the fifth one is favorable relationship between less research work and quality of education. Coming to the methodology. An exploratory approach has been adopted for this research. The reason for using this approach is to identify the challenges in quality of education in higher education institutions of Pakistan. A sample of 5 universities was selected on the basis of commonality, such that all institutions were from the public sector and chartered by the same provincial government. Similar environment dependency on same superior ministry, locality, and nature justifies the selection of this sample. A total of 100 questionnaires for each university were filled by the students and teachers of the focus 5 universities. The researcher used triangulation in order to carry the reliability and validity of the data for results. So to conduct this triangulation, the researcher used polling survey for students, questionnaire for the teachers, and interviews of the management. As you can see, the categorization of the students, teachers, and management in front of you in the form of table. Data analysis. This is the summary of the students' feedback of the focus 5 universities. This is the summary of the teachers' feedback, and the management interview is in the form of transcription. Results and discussions. In this study, the researcher has applied Pearson correlation to check the hypothesis. The value of Pearson correlation varies between 1 and -1. As you can see, the value of Pearson correlation of curriculum and quality of education is 0.576. the value of less training institutions and quality of education is 0.862. Corruption in education, quality of education is 0.405. Teachers' behavior and quality of education is 0.644. And less research work and quality of education is 0.687. Conclusion. This paper concludes that education develops people in all domains of life, such as social, moral, spiritual, political, and economic. With effective educational system, many countries are playing a leadership role in the Committee of Nations. The quality of education system in Pakistan has not been able to play its role effectively in nation building. This factor has contributed towards development of frustration among the Pakistani society. Finally, this study concludes that there is an urgent need to reform the system of quality of education in Pakistan, and for this purpose, the study presents the following recommendations. Taking note of the research analysis and the conclusion of the study, succeeding are suggestions given below to improve the excellence in learning in higher education institutions. Curriculum should be evaluated on annual basis. In this regard, a vast survey could be conducted to seek options of teachers, parents, and community regarding their expectations and observations. In this light, the expert recommendations of the education researchers, the curriculum goals should be redefined. In the view of importance of education, the government should take solid steps towards implementation instead of projecting policies like forming an evaluation team that could take control of the quality of education. In this regard, government should establish more training institutions for better and continuous feature of quality of education in Pakistan. The system of accountability must be strengthened, and all the professionals associated with the system of education should be educated to own their responsibilities on individual and collective basis. This helps in creating a sense of ownership of the system and its functions. Government should conduct workshops and training programs, making teachers aware about their behavior towards students. The culture of research should be promoted within educational institutions. For this purpose, the pace of research-oriented programs in teaching and learning should be accelerated in educational institutions around the country, especially at higher levels. Government should increase the volume of funding to Higher Education Commission for this purpose. These are the references. Thank you.
Mr. Zohaib Hassan Sain has completed his presentation. Audience, if you have any questions, you can put your questions in the chat box. We have 2 minutes for the question and answer session. Still no questions available. Shall we move on for the session? Yeah, Mr. Zohaib Hassan Sain has presented his entitled topic, Challenges in Quality of Education in Higher Education Institutions of Pakistan. As there are no questions available, I'm proceeding for the and inviting the next presenter,
Thank you.
Dr. Hasnan Ahmed. Let me introduce Dr. Hasnan Ahmed. He is a well-known academician whose diverse contribution in the field of accounting and corporate governance has been recognized in both academicians, recognized by both academicians and practicing professionals in Bangladesh and abroad. He served as the head of the academic and administrative department of ICMAB, that is Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh. He also served as an active member of board of editors of the journal The Cost and Management, published by ICMAB. He has been acting as the director, board of trustees, Federation of Bangladesh Human Resources Organizations. He has been entrusted with the positions of chairman, finance committee, Bangladesh Society of Human Resource Management. Dr. Ahmed has a diversified combination of educational qualifications. He completed his BCom honors and MCom in accounting from Rajshahi University, Bangladesh, postgraduate diploma in industrial management from BIM, and earned professional degree. CMA from ICMAB. He did his PhD in business administration from Aligarh Muslim University, India. He served in various capacities in the field of educational administration in the government of Bangladesh. He started his career as a researcher in the different socio-economic research projects. He worked as a postdoctoral research fellow in the area of corporate governance at Corvinus University of Budapest, Hungary, under the Erasmus Mundus Scholarship sponsored by European Commission. He also worked as a visiting scholar of University Utara, Malaysia. Dr. Ahmed has been actively involved in teaching, research, and educational administration of various educational, professional, autonomous, and government organizations prior to joining United International University, that is UIU. He has been actively working with UIU from the very beginning of the university. He served as the director, VBA program for the considerable time. He also served as the dean additional charge, School of Business and Economics in the same university. With his 35 years of experience in various capacities in different organizations, Dr. Ahmed also contributed as Pro Vice Chancellor in charge of UIU, aiding the current governance of the university. Now I hand over the session to Dr. Hasnan Ahmed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. But I think the topic that you have mentioned is a bit different from that I was given. Okay.
Quality
No,
model for madrasa education and accreditation.
How to develop the quality of education in Bangladesh. It was
Okay.
given some days ago. Okay.
Okay, my dear. Sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Sir,
you.
can you
That
just
is my
repeat that?
topic is how to develop the quality of education in Bangladesh.
Okay.
Okay.
How to develop the quality of education in Bangladesh.
Okay. I'm just going to start my session. And thank you very much. May I continue, please?
Yes, sir. Continue, please.
Okay. It's my honor to say something in this
Let me see.
prestigious event.
You are live, sir. You can continue.
Okay. Given the opportunity, I would like to briefly highlight certain key aspects of quality education in Bangladesh. I believe the term education has been pronounced numerous times throughout this summit. However, there is much more to education than literacy. We know education is required only for the human being, not for other creatures in the earth. This is the thing that we'll have to keep in mind. Firstly, the main purpose of education should result into a clear conscience of oneself, judgment of the difference between right and wrong, selection of a profession, formation an ideal family, and contribution towards an ideal society through developed thinking and services. Secondly, the welfare of creation and gratitude to the creator. And thirdly, the proper nurture of hidden talent inside oneself. We can say these are the purpose of being educated. Proper education is the fusion of three features: life-centric education, work-centric education, and human virtue awakening education. Without these, education can never be completed. If we have any deficiency in fulfilling these requirements, our society at large will suffer from the so-called educated person. To lead a meaningful life, one must be aware of certain rules of nature and thinking. These include issues as simple as how they can conduct themselves on road, how to take decisions about their own selves, how to behave in social settings, and many more. This is what life-centric education comprises of. Every person will have to earn his or her livelihood. For this, he or she will have to have a profession. This professional building education is our work-centric education. We are humans because we have humanity. Education must awaken the humanity in ourselves, gaining honesty, integrity, patriotism, truthfulness, and any benevolent action towards humanity are examples of human virtue awakening education. The higher the degree of attainment of these qualities in a human being, the more educated is oneself, and the society at large will remain safe from the educated person. We usually say education is the pillar of forming any good nation, the prosperity and advancement of a nation. I think the ingredients necessary for an educated person is considered as the pillar of education. I call those as the 7 R's in education. According to Saint Augustine of Romans, 3 R's are reading, writing, and arithmetic that you know from earlier. I would like to add 4 more R's to the list to complete one's education. These are religion, research, aroused conscience and values, and last of all, righteousness. These are the 4 additional R's that I would like to add with the 3 R's that mentioned by Saint Augustine of Romans. The 4th R, religion, means the ethics of human beings that they should have on their mind and act up to the ethics. The 5th R, research, quenches the thirst of the curiosity of knowing new things that will open up and explore the new ideas for the dynamic advancement of humankind and civilization. Every human being must have the 6th R, roused conscience and values. Lack of roused conscience and values in humanity and all sorts of injustice arise. Righteousness is the 7th R in education. It means the morality, justice, and propriety, etc. in human being. The holder of these 7 R's will be the educated person whose existence in any society will bring forth peace in the society and build a prosperous nation. So far, I think. These educated persons are actually the human resources in a country. When these 7 R's in education along with 6 elements of education like students, teachers, guardians, environment, teaching materials and methods, and syllabus come together. An educated nation is formed that will also ensure social and national development. Among different elements, environment is the most important element. We are lacking this element in our country, for which quality of education has been deteriorating day by day, and various forms of corruptions, injustice, lawlessness, deceptions are being erupted in the country. I hope all the irregularities will be addressed with the task of real education in the society. But in doing so, educational institutions at different levels must be working as the education training centers, in addition to be working as the study centers. Okay, then I think all about education will come out if we analyze these thought-provoking outlines. I am very thankful to all of you for your patient hearing. Thank you very much. Yeah. At this time, I have finished my presentation. Hi. Can you listen to me, please?
Dr. Hassan Ahmed has finished
Yes.
his session. We'll wait for 2 minutes for the question and answers. If there is any question from audience, I'll let you know, sir. Audience, if you have any questions, you can just type the question in the chat box. So no questions available till now, sir. So we'll proceed for the next session that will be presented by Dr. J. Mark B. Santos. Let me introduce Dr. Santos. Dr. Santos is an OIC of Accreditation and the assistant to the Vice President of Academic Affairs at LA Consolation University, Philippines, where he is also a guest lecturer in the graduate school department handling linguistic courses. He obtained his Masters of Arts in Education, major in English from La Consolacion University, Philippines, where he will also complete his PhD in English language and literature in August 22. Mr. Santos was given an Innovative Educator as Changemaker Award in 2021 and the Best Teacher Award in 2016. He is a member of different professional organizations locally and internationally, including the 2 international journal publications, where he served as a research reviewer. Mr. Santos is currently working on a series of publications and conferences, presentations addressing systematic functional linguistic, corpus analysis, and constructivism, and quality assurance and accreditation. I welcome Dr. Santos and I hand over the session to Dr. Santos. So please.
Thank you so much. Can I be heard? Can I be heard now?
Yeah, you can share your PPTs also, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for that very generous introduction. I hope I'm now sharing my screen. A pleasant evening from the Philippines. I am really honored to be part of the session. So allow me to share my presentation on sustaining excellence and quality through accreditation during the pandemic and beyond. And this is the LCUP way. To start with, higher education institutions are considered the primary sources of quality manpower, technology, and knowledge of any nation in its attempt to achieve the desired level of development. The learner's right to quality and relevant education remains one of the top concerns of the HEIs, with the continuous deepening of the reform of education of the Philippines, higher education institutions have been exploring new programs to offer in order to improve the country's quality of life and ensure that no student will be left behind. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed human engagement, systems operations, and breadth for priorities. Amidst these changing dynamics, the learner's right to quality and relevant education remains one of our top concerns. Education is compelled to make a shift in the world of teaching and learning, but the processes through which the goals can be achieved have to be reimagined and done differently. And our institution, LCUP, like any other institutions, I believe, make a huge adjustment in terms of its teaching and learning methods due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to move forward in these challenging times, academic institutions need to demonstrate resiliency to overcome the present adversity. As an institution, staying resilient can mean finding varied means to provide earning opportunities amidst this pandemic. However, one of the challenges our institution, I believe also that even other institutions have experienced during the pandemic, is how we will continue to provide quality and excellent education. With this, LCUP has to upgrade instructions through the different programs and ensure that these are aligned with institutions' vision and mission. Accreditation serves as a blueprint of the university's operational effectiveness and its ability to fulfill its mission, vision, goals, and objectives anchored on its core values. In fact, the university has to subject itself to different accreditation visits during the pandemic through remote or online or virtual accreditation to continuously provide basic and higher formal and innovative education programs that are nationalist and globalist in character and responsive to international standards of quality and excellence. As a higher educational institution, LCUP is challenged to continually develop our faculty members and students as well, to become knowledge contributors and design thinkers through meaningful researches. Hence, research capability alongside the implementation of enabling policies are integrated in the institutional strategic plan. And to directly impact the community, which we also serve, we have integrated community extension programs that may enable the students and other university stakeholders, such as the faculty and other personnel, administrators, and alumni, to fulfill our mission of being servant leaders to society and our immediate community. The various educational and administrative programs are carefully planned out to ensure the sustainability of our university operations, while quality instruction is our main menu for delivering educational services to our dear students as direct beneficiaries. As the heart of its service, LCUP develops a framework to elevate its instructional effectiveness provided to the students as part of the post-pandemic efforts. These stipulate the supportive strategies that need to be considered in providing quality instruction alongside with the requirements of the accreditation in the area of curriculum and instruction. The strategies are link expectations and teaching delivery modes, create learning partnerships, both local and international, utilize innovative and appropriate learning strategies and resources, and promote teachers and students' well-being. The first one is to link the expectations and teaching delivery modes. During the onset of the pandemic, a series of planning sessions were conducted from the top management down to the academic heads to the faculty. This is to set the different expectations that might lead to the adjustment in the curriculum and teaching modes. The expectations were identified and used as the basis for planning. Due to this, the university was able to consider the needed modifications and later on become the best practices in the area of instructions. One of the expectations is to upgrade the IT infrastructure in order to provide an effective mode of learning and even for the conduct of virtual or remote accreditation visits. Gradually, the university has established the following: the partnership and subscription to Google Workspace Education Plus. Aside from that, the university has invested in the following, to improve the IT infrastructure. Also, for students and teachers upskilling and retooling, especially on the implementation of flexible learning, a series of online readiness training was conducted. In addition, professional learning community is also established wherein our group of educators within the department shares expertise and works collaboratively to improve teaching skills. Another important expectation that was identified during the planning and as the product of accreditation efforts during the pandemic is the recalibration of the curriculum and syllabi. The curricula were reviewed by the basic education, undergraduate, and graduate school departments or college to align them with the current needs of the learners with the consideration of the different orders and memoranda released during the implementation of flexible learning. You know what? Even during the pandemic or the implementation of flexible learning, the syllabi must still follow the outcomes-based education. Thus, to recalibrate the syllabi through experiential learning and OBE, the university had a workshop for the said adjustment. Because of that, the syllabi across all departments and programs were adjusted accordingly following the OBE and experiential learning. And because of establishing expectations on curriculum, recalibration, the teaching learning delivery was also adjusted, and the result is actually worthy of emulation. These things were done due to the expectations set and link it with the teaching learning delivery modes and as the results of the accreditation efforts of the university. The second one is to create learning partnerships. Establishing linkages is one of the significant steps being considered by the university during the pandemic. Though separated physically due to the restrictions, connections, and linkages with other institutions must still be manifested. The university has established more than 50 government and non-government entities or institutions, both local and international. From these partnerships, the university or LCUP obtains assistance in the form of faculty development, sites for internship programs of students, research endeavors, and community involvement and outreach projects. During the pandemic, the different departments ensure that the students are provided with the skills needed to excel in their field of specialization. Thus, in that internship partners or partnership with different institutions was initiated. The third one is to utilize appropriate and innovative learning strategies and resources. Motivated by its continuous accreditation endeavors and its aim in providing quality education for all even during the pandemic, the university implements flexible learning using online and offline strategies during this transition period. The university, through departments, has subscribed to the different virtual applications like virtual patients, Cygate LT, virtual pathology at the University of Leeds, and virtual slide bats, Sabre Travel Network, worldwide internships, FlexSim, Huawei Academy, the virtual linguistic campus, among others. Proper carrying out of the course as taught and learned via flexible learning modality determining the variances or deviations from the standards desired with timely pertinent revisions as necessitated is done to make the program more effective and successful. And the last strategy is to promote teachers and students' well-being. Results of its accreditation visits during the pandemic lead the university to push for a more substantial programs to promote and support the well-being and mental health of both students and faculty members. To respond to the call of providing quality services to its clientele, even during the pandemic, LCUP maintains the operations of the Student Services Unit to institutionalize a mechanism to closely monitor the academic performance, mental health, and psychosocial well-being of students during the implementation of flexible learning. Overall, in pursuant of the institutional trust of quality and relevance, and considering the need to provide a higher level competencies among its graduates, LCUP ensures quality in the impacts and outcomes along with the different areas for accreditation and ensured the continuous improvement for the area of curriculum and instruction. Feedbacking and relevant data are collected to enable management to identify areas that will require enhancement or further improvement. The ultimate goal is to determine if the objectives of the innovation have been met and establish logistics of the course and the program. The university must focus on the select number of key strategic initiatives like the LCUP way, which I discussed, alongside with a responsive and responsible innovation. And in line with the challenge of preserving and improving quality through its accreditation and developing into transformative institution, LCUP, through its management and administrations, establishes quality assurance mechanisms that monitor and implement actions and activities created to address quality. The mechanisms facilitate program validations, approval, and monitoring of program designs, program operations, and quality of services, guided, of course, by its vision, mission, goals, and objectives. And that ends my presentation on sustaining excellence and quality through accreditation during the pandemic and beyond, the LCUP way. Thank you so much.
My name's Joe Levy, and I'm presenting on advice for assessment planning. You should know that I serve as the Executive Director of Assessment and Accreditation at National Louis University, which is a medium-sized private nonprofit Hispanic-serving institution in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States of America. All right, so I plan to cover what's included in a plan, considerations for a post-action plan, and have some reflection for you all. So in putting a plan together, it's important to think about planning being not only a part at the beginning of the assessment cycle, but also something at the end, as I have highlighted here with this arrow of when you go through the process of you collect your data, you analyze it, and you think about taking actions, part of that action can be informing the plan for the next year. But plans are also useful because they formalize what's measured, when, how it relates to your interventions and outcomes. It can also situate methods in a larger context with institutional initiatives, resources, and other factors worth knowing. So there's three major sections, in my opinion, to planning: who you are, how you'll measure it, and what you expect. So for who you are, it's important to indicate who's involved leading the assessment efforts. Think about your mission, your purpose statement, ultimately describing your office or your area, so that then when you talk about your learning outcomes, there can be a connection or understanding of your relationship to those interventions. With respect to learning outcomes, I like to think of area efforts in two ways: operational or programmatic objectives, what you do or provide or enable, and student learning outcomes, what students will know, think, or be able to do. The operational components may relate to usage, satisfaction, quality, whereas the student learning components are largely looking at student learning. Here's an example of a student affairs area where the operational objective is student activities provide leadership program to undergraduate students. And so you might look at how many students participate in that program, complete that program. And then the learning outcome is, as a result of attending the introductory workshop of the student leadership program, students will be able to articulate their definition of leadership. And then you would look to measure that. It's also important to then have alignment between your interventions and these process objectives and student learning outcomes. Here's a very simple alignment. They can also be rather sophisticated and fancy. Here's one from St. Paul College. And again, this is of a student affairs area. So you can see the co-curricular learning outcomes on the left side. Along the bottom, there's college learning outcomes noted by images, and those are placed throughout the graph. And up along the top are the different departments and areas of their division. If this were an academic program, you would have, say, the program learning outcomes and the courses listed across the top and the alignment there. But this is helpful so that you can see a visual depiction of how interventions and learning outcomes relate, so that if you think about a student journey or participation, you can see how those components all connect and where there might be gaps or where it might be really important to get a measure from somewhere that only has a few connections. So speaking of measures, before you get into thinking about what you're going to do, first determine what it is you need to measure. So you really need to know those outcomes. You really need to know those things that you're trying to capture data from. Then you determine how best to measure it. So push aside or try to squash the days of saying, well, I need a survey measuring this. No, you first need to know what you need to measure and then think of the best way to measure it. But I like to use this acrostic: create, where you consider your purpose, review past efforts, evaluate methods for appropriateness, account for resources, test the draft of your design or the draft of your instrument, and then ensure purpose is satisfied in terms of making sure that each data point you're collecting is necessary and more of a need as opposed to a want. And there's tons of assessment options. So again, with that example, don't think a survey is the only method. Likewise, don't think a paper or a test is the only way. These are just a fraction of methods that you could use for assessment. But it's important as you're thinking about your plan and your measures to think about timing. What's the schedule or seasonality of your work to where it's going to be feasible for you to launch this? What's the seasonality or perspective for your university or institution? What about students? If they're the ones giving you this data, think about when's going to make sense for them to capture and provide the content that you need. Think also about the populations involved. Students, believe it or not, is a very general term. Are we talking about full-time students, part-time, undergraduate, graduate, residential, commuter, online? Be specific and know the populations that you're getting into, that you're collecting data for. Now, when we think about what to expect for your assessment plan, I like to talk about targets or success criteria, targets for success, and these are the desired or expected level of performance you want to see. Having targets makes it easy for you to determine achievement or success in relation to your outcomes and objectives. Targets can take a lot of forms. There can be an expectation target where there's no further effort needed. It's largely what you expect. An aspirational target where you're setting yourself up to hopefully achieve this and may need to put in a little more effort or add more to your interventions in order for students to achieve this target. And then a stretch target where there's going to be a major focus for your faculty and staff to really ramp up programs and engage with students in order to achieve this goal that you're looking for. And you may have targets already. So think about internal benchmarks of past data, external benchmarks comparing to others. Targets can be quantitative, averages, percent of total, proportion of students. They can be qualitative as well, thinking about themes popping up with focus groups, interviews, listening sessions. These are just a couple examples of targets, one for a mean score, one for rubrics, one for proportion of students. So largely, sometimes people immediately jump to this step as they think of their measures, but either way, we want to identify what we're expecting to see with our respective measures so that we can report on, was the reality meeting our expectations? And it's okay to create your own starting point. If you have no past data, or if you're not sure, use your gut. Consider what results might make you worried, what results might get you excited, and what results might not surprise you at all because it might be what you expected. You allow that to be a barometer for you to set your target. It's okay to hypothesize or make something up based on what you think, because you can always then adjust for the next year. As you collect your data, then you can refine your target in going forward. Now, you may be wondering, okay, but what if we always meet our targets? Well, if you always meet your targets, there's still work to be done. You can be disaggregating your data to look for equity concerns and make sure you're not just looking at the aggregate or the, because that can mask the margins for your students. Where appropriate, raise your targets. If you're always meeting a target, raise it where it's appropriate. I mean, unless you're at 100% already. You can measure the same outcome in different ways, different measures, different times of the experience. You can also get innovative or brave and dig deeper or pilot efforts around student learning in new ways or through new methods. And compare to external benchmarks or partners. So maybe your internal targets being met, what about the external ones or with colleagues? So when you'll act, make sure with your plan as part of it to set aside time later in the year to enact these things. If you have to create your measures, make time for that. When are you going to collect your data? When are you going to analyze your data? When are you going to take actions based on those results? Set aside time, carve that out in your calendar now, so that then you can invite partners and colleagues to support you in this work as the year goes along. Now, after planning, there's still work to be done. You need to build and plan for your measures. So any new measures, you're gonna have to build those and test them and pilot them. Any existing measures, you need to ready them and make sure they're gonna be good to go for data collection. You also wanna build in some mid-year periodic check-ins with respect to preparing your data collection, preparing for your analysis work, preparing for reporting. By doing that, you might be able to capture or identify where there's any data gaps or data collection issues, and you can catch those potentially to salvage your plan or fix the issues, or pivot and adjust your plan accordingly. But having these check-ins is also a great way to prepare people for what's coming, as well as answer questions and keep this front of mind as people are carrying out their work. So if you're unsure where to start, the CAS standards can be a great reference for functional areas with respect to missions, learning outcomes, interventions. If you're an academic program, you can look to your field for competencies that may be needed for graduates, as well as literature or other programs at other institutions. But as you're looking to establish your plan, here are some reflection questions you can utilize. What burning questions you need to answer for your area? How do your objectives and outcomes align to your services? What processes could be natural data collection opportunities? Document analysis can be data collection, because that's new insight from content that you may already have. You don't always have to go out and collect the data yourself. And what all should inform your expectations for student learning for your area? Think about student population, think about use, engagement, having realistic expectations for what assessment could and should look like for you. You don't have to measure everything all the time. So what's going to make sense? When is it going to make sense to do things? What's going to be reasonable for your team? And prepare for success by thinking about who all should be involved in your process. How will you share or communicate your plan to your team? Because you should be. You shouldn't just be a secret kept to you or just kept with your assessment people. Thinking about when should planning and the check-ins take place, because that may look different for your area than another. And how can you ensure time remains set aside for assessment work? Because hopefully you're setting aside some work for it, but is it enough? Is it placed at the right time throughout the year? Are you including enough colleagues in the process? Do you need to work with them to set aside time? But do this work while you're planning, so that as the year goes along, it's not a surprise. People can't use excuses of being busy with other things, or that they didn't know this was coming, because hopefully you would have communicated this when you set your plan. Those are my high-level tips and advice. This is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me to talk about this further. I love assessment. It's the topic I've been engaged in for the bulk of my career. And I truly believe planning is such an important part of the process, because if you don't have a solid plan, the rest of it can really fall apart. Even if you're using an external instrument, a validated instrument, a national, a benchmark instrument that is of quality, if you don't have an intentional plan of how to use that, or what questions it's going to answer, and how you're going to report on it, and how that relates to you and your area, then that great instrument may be wasted, or you may not be fully leveraging the insight that you can be getting from it. And so all of that can be worked out with a plan. Likewise, then, when you go through the process and report, the reporting can then feed into your next plan of either determining what things to continue measuring, to measure differently, to set new targets, to pick new measures, to measure at different times, or what things to set aside, or somewhat retire for the year, because you got the insight you needed, whether that was affirming or whether it was indicating where change needs to be made. You need to make those changes before you measure it again, so you can turn your attention somewhere else. Again, I mentioned it before, but you don't need to measure everything all the time. It's perfectly appropriate to have a 2 to 3 year time frame to measure all of your outcomes and objectives. And so by setting a 2 to 3 year time frame, you can then measure a portion of those outcomes and objectives each year. So choose wisely, think strategically, and plan for future success. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the conference.